Today, we're going to rank all 14 SEC starting quarterbacks. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's just get straight into today's video. We're first going to start out with number 14, and that is Vanderbilt. The two quarterbacks for second-year head coach Clark Lee will be Mike Wright and Ken Seals. They are both three-star prospects in the class of 2020, but Ken Seals hailed from Texas, and Mike Wright was from Georgia. Seals would start in 2020, but after he struggled midway through the 2021 season, Mike Wright was handed the reins of the offense. He ended up becoming a true dual-threat guy, as he threw for over 1,000 yards and also was a threat on the ground. In my honest opinion, I think Mike Wright will be the starter, but Seals has the better arm and might fit the system a little bit better, so we'll just have to wait and see. But either way, the Commodores are 14. At number 13, we have the Missouri Tigers, as there is a three-way quarterback battle. The guy with the worst chance of winning the job is true freshman Sam Horn. He was a four-star recruit coming out of Collins Hill High School in Georgia, and he decided to commit to the Missouri Tigers to play both football and baseball. He won't arrive until the summer, and while he has the most potential of any of these three guys, he's more than likely to get a redshirt and not be a factor until next year or the following year. The two guys to take a look at are Tyler Macon and Brady Cook. Cook was an under-recruited three-star quarterback out of St. Louis and did not get his opportunity to play until 2021. Bazelak was benched at the end of the year, and Cook would make his first career start against Army. In that game, he combined for 2 touchdowns and over 300 total yards. The Tigers did lose, but Cook looks like the main option. He will have to fend off Tyler Macon though. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of East St. Louis, and Macon is more athletic than Cook, but his arm is a complete work in progress, and he has a lot of work to do. As you guys know, I'm a Mizzou fan, and the quarterback spot is definitely a big worry, and while there is traction, JT Daniels could end up worrying the Gold and Black. I think Brady Cook will be the starter, and I think he's 13th in the conference. Brian Harson has been in hot water ever since he arrived at Auburn. Despite them going 6-7 in year 1 and almost beating Alabama, the boosters desperately want to show Harson the door. The biggest problem for this 2022 team though is going to be the quarterback spot. While they will have 4 decent options, I really think it comes down to 2. True freshman Holden Geriner probably won't play, and Robbie Ashford is a project player, so it's really going to come down to Zach Calzada and TJ Finley. Both of these guys are SEC transfers and began their careers as 3-star recruits. Finley would start a couple of games for LSU in 2020, but he'd eventually transfer to Auburn, and Calzada, he'd start for most of the 2021 season, and he decided to transfer to Auburn. Finley has combined for nearly 2,000 yards in his career and has shown flash of being a star, but it seems his mechanics are not all the way there yet. That is why I think Zach Calzada will be the starter. While athletically he's not the most gifted, he did lead Texas A&M last year, and at 6'4" with a pretty good arm, I think he'll have a good opportunity to save his career at Auburn. If he does end up beating Finley out for the job though, I have him ranked as the 12th best quarterback in the conference, and I think he'll only be a 1-year placeholder before either Ashford or Geriner take over in 2023. Just like Auburn, there is no clear-cut starter at LSU. First-year head coach Brian Kelly will have a lot to work with, as they have 4 blue-chip players on the roster. The 2 guys who likely won't play are incoming 5-star Walker Howard and redshirt freshman Garrett Nussmeier. While Nussmeier did play in a couple of games, I think he's a little bit behind the 2 other guys I'm going to talk about. That is Miles Brennan and Arizona State transfer Jaden Daniels. Brennan was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school and was the backup to Joe Burrow. He took over in 2020 and had 3 incredible games to start the year before he would suffer a season-ending injury against Missouri and would also miss 2021 after he got in a fishing accident. Brennan will be seemingly playing for his 100th year in college football, and as you guys know, I really don't like that rule, so I'm honestly hoping that the job is given to Jaden Daniels. Daniels was a 5-star recruit coming out of San Bernardino, California, and committed to Herm Edwards out of high school. He had a great freshman year in which he helped beat Oregon and also established himself as a legit NFL prospect. Except the 2021 season went very poorly for him. He only had 10 touchdowns to go along with 10 interceptions, and he is definitely looking for a fresh start after Arizona State is going to get the hammer from the NCAA. It seems like Brennan and Daniels are complete opposite players, so if Kelly wants to go with a more agile, high potential player, I think he'll pick Daniels, but if he wants to pick the safe option that can sling the rock, he'll go with Miles Brennan. Whether Jaden or Miles wins the job, I have them ranked as the 12th best quarterback in the conference, and I'm definitely curious to see what is going to happen. Up next, we have the Florida Gators. Their starting quarterback Emory Jones from last year decided to enter the portal. The guy who will be leading the way is Anthony Richardson, but I'm first going to highlight the other 4 players. They have a true freshman by the name of Max Brown, and while he's only a 3-star player, Napier sees a lot of potential in him down the road, but he will likely redshirt. Then you'll have a pair of redshirt freshmen in Jalen Kitna and Carlos Del Rio Wilson, and I think those two guys will be the backups. The real battle will come down to Jack Miller and AR-15, with Miller having an outside shot to win the job. He was a 4-star quarterback coming out of the state of Arizona, and after getting stuck behind CJ Stroud at Ohio State, he decided to transfer down to the SEC, where he will likely have an opportunity to win the job. He'll have the opportunity, but I don't think it's likely. In limited time, AR-15 played tremendous last year, and I think he's the future of this program. He threw for 500 yards with 6 touchdowns, and also ran the ball for 400 yards and 3 scores. He had that highlight big play ability, and if Napier can just fix his mechanics and give him some more reps, I think he is the future of Florida. And while I am pretty high on him, I only have him ranked as number 10 right now, but he could end up higher by the end of the year if he in fact wins the job and plays well. At number 9, we're going to have Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. Everyone knows what Lane Kiffin did with Matt Corral. Who's the next guy up? Well, it's Jackson Dart. There is an outside chance that redshirt freshman Luke Altmaier wins the job, but he looked scared when he played against Baylor, and I don't think he's the answer moving forward as of right now. The guy in charge will be Jackson Dart. Coming out of high school, Dart was a 4-star recruit and chose to sign with Clay Helton at USC. After Keaton Slovis struggled, Dart was thrown in with the Sharks and threw for 1,300 yards with 9 touchdowns and 5 picks, and he was just one of those guys that had that it factor. He wasn't perfect, he made a lot of mistakes, and he was young, but everyone saw his ceiling was unlimited. He would likely be the starting quarterback for USC next year, but Lincoln Riley wanted Caleb Williams instead, so Dart entered the portal, visited a couple of schools, and eventually decided to go to Ole Miss. Will he put up the same numbers as Matt Corral? Probably not. But will he be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference and show flash for the future? Yes. I'm extremely excited to see what Dart will do, and right now there is so much hype for him that I think he'll be a little bit underwhelming compared to that, but if he does in fact utilize all his tools, he could be the best quarterback in the SEC. We'll just have to wait and see. At number 8, we have Spencer Rattler. We all know him, and we've all talked about him 1,000 times it seems. Going into 2022, Rattler is going to be the starting quarterback at South Carolina. Maybe Luke Doty comes out of nowhere and wins the job, but last year he was very unimpressive, and I think Beamer will be ready to roll with Rattler. While Rattler wasn't perfect in 2020, he really came on towards the end of the year, which is why many thought he could be the #1 overall pick and a Heisman winner last year. It didn't end up happening, as he was benched for Caleb Williams and would have to find a new school. There is not as much pressure at South Carolina as there is at Oklahoma, so I'm extremely excited to see what Rattler will do. Will he put his head down and get to work and show out, or will he get lazy and underperform? We'll have to wait and see, but Rattler's ceiling is definitely higher than 8th, but as of right now, that's where I have him ranked. Up next, we will head down to College Station and talk about the Aggies quarterback room. The first guy with an outside looking in shot is true freshman Connor Wigman. I hope that's how you say it, maybe it's Wigman, but he's a 5-star player and someone who I'm super pumped about for the future, but he'll more than likely redshirt this year and allow the other 2 guys to take over. So, who are the other 2 options? First one is Haynes King. He was a big-time player coming out of the state of Texas and had high expectations going into last year. He would start their first 2 games, but after he got hurt against Colorado, Zach Calzada took over. Pretty much everyone has forgotten about King to this point, but there's a reason he won the starting job last year, and there's a reason he was ranked so highly coming out of high school. I think he's second option right now, but Haynes King has the potential to win that job and become a star player for Jimbo, but Max Johnson I think will get in the way. The son of former Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson, Max was a pretty big deal coming out of high school. He was a 4-star player, he decided to go to LSU, where as a freshman, he'd get an opportunity to play. That was after Miles Brennan went down, and in limited action, he showed flash for the future. That is why he won the starting job going into 2021, and had a great year. He'd end up throwing for 2,815 yards with 27 touchdowns and 6 picks. He'd lead the Tigers to a bowl game, and while LSU was extremely disappointing, Johnson showed that he had a lot of potential and a high ceiling for the future. He'd end up entering the transfer portal though. This was because Coach O left and because his brother, a tight end, committed to Texas A&M. The Aggies needed a bona fide starter, and they had all the pieces to make the playoff except a great quarterback. That is why Johnson decided to go there, and as of right now, he is my number 7 gunslinger in the conference. This will now be the second time I mention this, but I really do not like the extra year of eligibility because of certain cases like this. I absolutely love the Stetson Bennett story. It's awesome how he went from a walk-on to a national champion, but it's time for him to go. There have been so many 5-star blue chip quarterbacks who have come into the Georgia program, and I feel like we're never going to get to see them play. While Bennett can run the offense, his ceiling is extremely low, and in terms of his actual passing abilities, I'm not super high on him. him. He does have the stats and a ring, so I probably at least have to rank him in the top 6. But man, I'm ready for Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, or even Gunnar Stockton to play, and it's time we see a new face at quarterback for Georgia. No offense to Stetson. At number 5, we have the former 3-star recruit coming out of high school, Will Levis. He signed with Penn State over North Carolina and was a backup to Sean Clifford his first few years. Despite Clifford being horrendous in 2020, Levis really never got his opportunity, which is why he entered the portal. Kentucky had to move on from Terry Wilson, so they gladly welcomed Levis to Lexington. In his first year with the Wildcats, he was known for eating bananas with the peel on and for becoming an NFL prospect. Last year, he threw for 2,826 yards with 24 touchdowns passing and 9 more on the ground. He was considered an NFL prospect, as I said, but he decided to return in 2022, where he'll likely be one of the top quarterback prospects in the nation. We'll have to wait and see how he does, but Kentucky football has a lot of hype, and Levis is definitely qualified to be top 5. At number 4, we have KJ Jefferson. I think some people would say I'm too low on KJ, but honestly, I think he's a tad bit overrated. I think this guy has complete superstar potential and has done a tremendous job as a starter for Arkansas, but I don't think he's reached the level of success that people think he has. Last year, he threw for 2,600 yards with 21 touchdowns, and he also had 6 more scores on the ground. He really did break out, and it seemed like the Cam Newton comparisons were everywhere. I do think KJ was spectacular last year, but his best football has probably not been seen yet. He seemingly has the athletic and mental tools to be an absolute superstar, but without his top option in Treylon Burks next year, how will he do? We'll really have to wait and see, as Jefferson's play will either be that of Heisman level or potentially bust level. We'll really have to wait and see, but either way, I think he's the 4th best quarterback in the SEC going into next year, with the potential to be as high as number 2. I think a lot of people would have put Jefferson at 3 and Will Rogers at 4. But in my eyes, Will is the 3rd best quarterback in the conference. Coming out of Mississippi, Rogers is only a 3-star player. He committed to Mike Leach, and in a limited time as a freshman, he threw for 2,000 yards and 11 touchdowns with 7 picks. 2021, he was going to be the full-fledged starter, and he showed out. In the air raid offense, he threw for 4,739 yards with 36 touchdowns and 9 picks. He had a quarterback rating of 147, and I think this guy is a legit NFL prospect. I think Rogers gets underestimated because he plays at Mississippi State and because he is an air raid quarterback, but they could be a sneaky good team in 2022, and I think Rogers has the potential to lead the country in passing yards. I would say it could be even higher, but I think the 2 guys ahead of him are even better. That's why at number 2, I have Hendon Hooker. After spending 3 years at Virginia Tech, the former 4-star recruit coming out of high school decided to transfer to Josh Heupel at Tennessee. In his half season as a starter, he went off. He threw for 3,000 yards with 31 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. He showed the potential at quarterback that no other player has shown since Josh Dobbs. Not only was he a great passer, but he also had 620 yards rushing with 5 more touchdowns on the ground. There's legitimately no throw or no play that Hendon Hooker cannot make, and in year 2 in the Josh Heupel system, I think Hooker is going to shock the college football world and could finish as a top 5 quarterback in the nation. He's also a dark horse Heisman contender, but I am worried the hype will be a little bit too much. I would say he's the best quarterback in the SEC, but we cannot forget about last year's Heisman winner, Bryce Young. I have the unpopular opinion that Bryce Young did not deserve the Heisman last year. Was he the best quarterback? Maybe. Was he the Heisman winner? In my opinion, no. I don't think he had a greater impact than Aiden Hutchinson, Will Anderson, or Kenny Pickett, but it has become a quarterback award, and Alabama is the biggest brand in the nation, so why not hand him the trophy? All jokes aside, Bryce Young is a spectacular player and has the potential to be the number 1 overall pick in 2023. He was fantastic for the Tide last year as he set multiple records. He threw for 4,872 yards with 47 touchdowns and 3 more on the ground. Young is by far the best quarterback returning in 2022, and he will look to win the Heisman Trophy for the 2nd time, and more importantly, get revenge and win a national title. He has some high expectations and lofty goals to hit before he leaves Alabama, but Bryce Young is the real deal, and I cannot wait to see what he will do in this year's offense. So yes, in today's video we ranked all 14 starting quarterbacks, went through each team's quarterback situation, and I talked about why or why not they are ranked where they are. Let me know what you think down below. Which quarterback battles did I get wrong? Who did I rank wrong? And who is your favorite quarterback going into 2022? Be sure to let me know down below, smash that like button if you enjoyed today's video, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.